Top 10 strongest Hoenn Pokemon. No legendaries because they're lame, no megas because who knows how this is going to work, and Terra not going to have a lot of consideration because of Pokemon like Shedinja. So yeah, will Game Freak let Shedinja Terra into any type and remove weaknesses for Wonder Guard? I'm thinking not. I'm thinking a mysterious power does not allow this Pokemon to terrestrialize or something, and then we just have to deal with whatever Shedinja does. But even without Terra, it has to be number 10 on the list because of the gimmick. The game can just be over. No Toxic, no way of statusing for damage on the Shedinja, and you don't have Flying Rock, Ghost Fire, or Dark. Actually, the game is just over, and while that's rare, the Pokemon's still pretty decent. If you put a Focus Sash on it, you gotta KO it twice, so it can still, like, get damage, it can still do something, and it's a Pokemon to keep an eye out for, but also it's mostly, like, the number 10 gimmick slot of it can do things sometimes, and it can also just auto-win the game, unlike any other Pokemon. Next up for number 9, we have the Regis. And that's kind of all I can say about it, because they're around the same amounts of power, but then we have Regirock with Body Press now that can do some crazy stuff. You slap an Assault Vest on it, and it can just hurt. It's just gonna beat you up. We have Balance Tank on the Registeel, and then Regice, crazy special defense, and it has some like gimmicks and good damage behind it, but these are legendary Pokemon that have been power crept by pretty much everything else. I'm going to keep repeating myself in the top 10. Some Pokemon just beat you up, they're going to be on the list, and then as we get into more future generations, we just see tons of unacceptable stuff, but like, legendaries of Hoenn that are usable, and they're 9th because you can do like something with them sometimes, and they're fun to use, so they need some kind of acknowledgement as a powerful Pokemon. Then for number 8, we have Dusclops. Don't let the 40 hit points fool you. Remember, Rotom has 50 on its forms, but 130 defense, 130 special defense, and Eviolite to get 50% more defense means this beast is tanky. Now, it has lost its best moveset because Game Freak said, yeah, we can't give every Pokemon Double Team and Toxic, or else Pokemon like Dusclops are going to use it. Also, it just had a Confuse Ray, so you'd never hit it. If you try to hit, you just hit yourself, but then Confusion getting nerfed from 50% chance to 30%. Dusclops doesn't have, like, as insane of power as it used to have, but it's still pretty good. You can go Pain Split, Nightshade, and just outlast. That you finish off an opponent, you Pain Split the fresh one, and then you can just kind of run them down. Also, with your bulk, if they have some kind of setup, you know, +2 from Swords Dance, you can just haze that away, and then try to get back on a even playing field. Same thing with a couple of Calm Minds. You also have Will-O-Wisp, so you make it really impossible for physical Pokemon to exist, and then you just chip them down, heal up, tank it out. You can also run some kind of Rest moveset, and then like Rest, Sleep, Talk, some form of Disruption, then you're pretty much good to go. But there is a lot of power creep in the game, so Dusclops can struggle a little bit, and Game Freak got rid of like the ultimate stall troll moveset that was actually really, really good. Number 7, we have Crawdaunt. So Crawdaunt is just powerful. It has adaptability. You've put a Life Orb on it, and now it's going to hurt things. It's like Swords Dance, Life Orb, Aqua Jet, adaptability. That's actually going to wreck. And it's also a super crazy tank buster that you can just go knock off with Stab, and then you remove an item. Or if it survives because you're running like max hit points, max attacks, since you don't really care about speed too much, you just tank a hit from a sweeper, use knockoff, and that thing's just KO'd. It also has Taunt to extra shut down tanks, but the problem is the stats do let it down in the end. That, okay, you max out the hit points, but then you can kind of survive physical and maybe a non-stab special attack. But the 55 speed is weird because somehow Game Freak has speed crept tanks and bruisery Pokemon, so don't even get into like the speed tiers that are good to shut things down, especially when Pokemon like Golden Go just have over 80 base speed. Good luck trying to catch or do anything that. Actually, though, because of dual resist, it beats Golden Go with that knockoff. So, yeah, it's like a decent Pokemon that maybe could get picked up a little more, but it's also very easy to exploit. They're just like a fast, hard-hitting Pokemon, which is a lot of them now, just runs you over before it really matters. And like, okay, cool, you tag them for 50% on an Unswords Dance, Life Orb, Aqua Jet. You can go Focus Sash, get that Swords Dance, but then you have an Unlife Orb +2 Aqua Jet with adaptability on 120, which isn't going to be one-hit KOing things like you need it to. So yeah, it's like decent. It's 7th. I think that's a very fair 7th place. For number 6, we have Latios, which is just a good legendary Pokemon that, okay, 80 on the attack means the rest of the stats are going where they need to go. 80 hit points, 90 defense, 130 special defense. it's tanky. And if the opponent only has special attackers left, oh, you can like Calm Mind and stuff with 110 special attack, 110 speed. It's a light sweeper, but it can take off, and it has recovery options, and it has really good coverage. Yeah, Latias actually just sets up the game and wins, and is like one of the best Pokemon. Crazy. But then we go into number 5. And Breloom will just ruin your life and end your day with a Focus Sash Spore. Do I need to say anything else? Like, Focus Sash Spore, you lose. Now, I want to know what people think about number 4 and this video, so like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff, but I think Shedinja might be a little highly ranked because of generational trauma. Also, Smogon just ruining thing. Like, okay, bad players make their own fake format, and then that snowballs into the rest of competitive Pokemon, so no one really knows what's going on, where it's like, oh, you can't use Baton Pass in fake Smogon Pokemon, but in real competitive Pokemon, you can. So, where does Ninjask come into play? Because it's got Speed Boost, Baton Pass, Scolipede also has that. However, it's just like super duper fast. So it always comes in, it's going to protect, it's going to be untouchable against Scarf, Agility, anything like that. And then it can also Swords Dance. Like, okay, Swords Dance, protect, and then you protect, and now a +2 attack, +3 speed is going into any Pokemon, and there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. Are you going to choose Substitute? That if the opponent's going for any kind of setup, like, okay, like, that's also how old games used to go back in Pokemon. Generation 5, Ninjask lead versus Ferrothorn lead. Well, Ninjask just gets a sub and the game is over. No Stealth Rocks, no Leech Seed. Now, it is really predictable, so there's like a Gyro Ball play that comes in, but it also depends on if you're anticipating a sub from your opponent, because you want to get the free Stealth Rocks into their Protect. And then there's also weird mind games that Ninjas can play, that they see a Ferrothorn just go, I'm going to Swords Dance into their Stealth Rocks. That's going to show I don't have sub. Actually, I do have sub, so now Leech Seed doesn't land because Ferrothorn wants Leech Seed on the Pokemon that's going to Baton Pass, because Leech Seed gets Baton Passed into the other Pokemon, which at least helps you not lose the game immediately. So, like, you get into some really complex stuff where, like, rock, paper, scissors, it's all RNG, you guess the wrong Ninjask moveset, and then you lose the game because now there's sweepers coming in with Swords Dance, 3 speed boost, and they're behind a sub, so you can't even punish the switch. And also, depending on the Pokemon, where it's like, okay, I'll just Baton Pass in front of a tank, and it doesn't matter how frail the Pokemon switching in is, it's going to take maybe a third, half worst case scenario from like kind of a tanky, or like kind of a damagey tank Pokemon. And then once that happens, like, okay, cool, no priority, you lose the game. And also with these top 10s, it's not like, oh, this is the top 10 strongest Pokemon at the most peak, best, optimal possible play that no one can ever achieve. It's kind of like, hey, you're going into a competitive Pokemon battle, you see a Ninjask. Some players are just like, well, I'm just going to Iron Defense, and then nothing they can do matters. I'm actually going to set up harder than them. And then, you know, casual players, bad players like Smogon players, which is why they've banned Baton Pass, they just let themselves get set up on, and then the game's over and they cry about it. So anything that can do such an effective Baton Pass is just going to be a scary, respectable Pokemon, especially as you're trying to like get your footing and understand competitive more. It's also going to exploit a lot of weakness in your team building, like, oh, dang, I'm actually going to need more priority or a Focus Sash Pokemon because Stealth Rocks is actually bad, and then you can at least trade with the Pokemon that's now like +4 Swords Dance off of a Ninjask and not immediately lose the game, hopefully. Number 3, we got Salamence. So yeah, this is not counting Mega Salamence, but it's also a pseudo-legendary Pokemon that gets Dragon Dance. Dragonite is better, but Salamence can get going. That like, oh, Intimidate means it now survives to get 1 or 2 Dragon Dances, and then it can just do the sweep by itself without needing a Baton Pass, or 1 Dragon Dance into like the right opposing team composition where if they don't have super fast Pokemon that can catch a +1 Salamence, it gets the KO on like Revenge or something, and then it gets Moxie, and now it snowballs and the game is over. So it is one of those Pokemons like, hey, if it gets going, especially in like the mid to late game, a couple of the opponent's Pokemon are beaten up, maybe one of their like boss Pokemon is taken down, Salamence can just kind of like stroll on in and get its Dragon Dance. That's the game. And that's why you still have to respect Salamence as a sweeping threat, even though a Pokemon like Dragonite exists. Dragonite's 80 speed gets it into like weird high speed situations where it can't catch Scarf Pokemon or really fast Pokemon depending on its EV investment, and then something else that's already set up with some kind of speed boost, it's actually going to be able to challenge a Dragonite, potentially even take it out, and then reverse sweep and take over from there. So Salamence can get away with those things, which makes it pretty good. Now, I have a problem with putting Blaziken at number 2 on this list because I think it's one of the most overrated Pokemon, but also I play tanks. I can just kind of tank out a Blaziken and not matter, and it really is one of the ultimate gatekeepers of competitive Pokemon. If you are losing to a Blaziken every time, you have not like upgraded into that next tier of like having good team building and good strategy and being able to identify threats and find win conditions. You just let yourself get set up on every time. That against bad to decent players, Blaziken is a free win. And that's where the Pokemon meta gets weird and just gaming in general, because a lot of people are net decking, they download an app, they just listen to what other people say blindly, and then they don't really do that good and they complain, and then the game just gets oversaturated with nonsense. But I can't really blame someone if they want to win games and they just slap Blaziken on their team. But I also don't encourage that. My team building guide, which is going to be another part of this competitive 101 series, so again, like, comment, subscribe. It's mostly like, find your favorite, find something cool you want to accomplish inside the game, and don't just copy what you see or copy what other people are saying is strong. But others will do that, and then metagaming gets weird because like Pokemon's so diverse that if, let's say, 60% of teams are the same, and you play to hard counter those teams, we're still going to lose a lot of weird battles, and you're not going to have a 100% win rate, even with hard counters, because Pokemon is such a game of high variance. But competitive Pokemon is better when people are running what they want and just trying to have fun making their favorite Pokemon work or finding their own strategy. So I tried to really get players to go into that more. But at the same time, yeah, Blaziken, it's just like Swords Dance, and then it gets its own speed boost. You don't have to worry about baton passing into anything, and that can just kind of hurt. Also, it's the same thing. Protect, Swords Dance, Protect. Well, now if they don't have priority, they weren't able to one-shot you, which is kind of weird. Firefighting has a good amount of weaknesses, but it feels like you can't always immediately exploit a Blaziken. That if it comes in as a revenge Pokemon and it knows it's not getting hit super, or it's not going to get like crushed by some kind of choice band close combat Pokemon inside of setup, it's just going to get away with it. Also can run a Focus Sash, and then that's how you kind of lose games. Like Protect, Swords Dance, Focus Sash activates, Protect. If you don't have priority, you lose. Now, if you do have priority, then you can Sucker Punch the Blaziken or Aqua Jet it or whatever. This isn't Generation 5 anymore. This isn't Generation 6 anymore. There's a lot more viable priority that just gets splashed inside of Pokemon teams and does pretty well. And there's just also a lot of really ridiculous tank Pokemon that can survive a +2 from Blaziken and then get that finishing damage. And then Dondozo exists. So actually, maybe just the existence of Dondozo and all the unaware Pokemon out there, which is another like really good counter and a really good pickup. I also haven't really done the mental on the Skeledirge Blaziken matchup, but I imagine that Skeledirge can just go Torch Song, survive the knockoff, and after it loses its item, the knockoff's doing even less, and then it can use an Earth Power and Blaziken's KO'd. And because if we're factoring in Terra, Skeledirge really likes to run Terra Fairy, so that's just another one, like, immediate Terra Fairy. Because Blaziken is also losing coverage. The reason why I keep wanting to, like, knock Blaziken down, maybe it's, like, 7. Because Dondozo, and also coverage, that is pretty easy to wall in general, regardless of what you're going for. You don't even need the Protect, but you kind of do because there's so much speed creep in the game. But it's like, okay, Swords Dance, Focus Sash, now you're +1 speed, you're outspeeding whatever's in front of you, you're KOing it because you have the coverage, and now you're at +2 and you should be fine. But also the fire damage and coverage isn't that crazy. And that's why I hate putting it at number 2. Is the competitive Pokemon community really that bad and stunted exclusively because of Smogon? Is it actually more of a threat than I give it credit for? Or is being like the ultimate gatekeeper? That like, oh, if you don't see Blaziken as a problem anymore, you're now a really good battler? That actually just might be a number 2 slot. It also has a couple of different movesets, like Bulk Up is kind of scary that, oh, it's a tanky Blaziken that's actually going to be more defensively invested, and then just lets the speed boost catch up, do some bulk ups, and now physical attackers can't KO you, and you have the freedom to baton pass. So you put a +3 attack, +3 defense on something from that baton pass, could be really nice. Also it gives you options where it's like, depending on your item, you can use acrobatics, you also still have knockoff, you have close combat, you can put in a flare blitz, because if your bulk up means you're not taking a lot of damage or going up against a tank, Flare Blitz with a huge damage, recoil yourself down to red bar, but then you can baton pass and you're fine. And this thing also has forbidden jutsu that no one touches, so that could be another thing. Like, bad players play Blaziken bad, so it kind of feels bad, but with like a bit more strategy and then consideration for moveset and playstyle, it actually does become a bit more of a threat again. But yeah, it could just go counter Focus Sash, and then it gets a speed boost, and you still have the Swords Dance option to special attackers, and then you can still win the game. It's a weird Pokemon. It's very complex, and one of like the biggest discussion points of competitive. So sure, like second strongest. Now, with honorable mentions, we're going to see some weird Pokemon here because Torkoal is actually one of the best physical tanks in the game. No one really uses it because it's also very technical and hard to play because, like, you don't have a lot of forgiveness. It's not like, well, I can just run Garganasalt for free and I can recover away any of my problems. Torkoal has to, like, play very defensively with, like, leftovers and needs some yawn shenanigans, but then it just has a lot to mess and disrupt physical Pokemon. Cradle is actually one of the best tanks in the game because it can go stockpile, it can go recover, and then it does whatever it wants to the opponent. Sableye. So Prankster Sableye is good, but it also has like really bad stats and it's really frail, and there's just better Prankster Pokemon out there. So it's not in the top 10, and I will put it honorable mention because depending on how Mega works, like it's already confirmed. And Mega Sableye is one of the best S-tier Mega Pokemon. So it's not like we're trying to make some kind of value proposition of like, what other Megas? We don't know Legend ZA Megas, or what if you terrestrialize this Pokemon instead? But no, you gotta keep Mega Sableye on your radar because it's just that powerful. It transcends the rules of my list. And then we have Volbeat and Illumise. Again, other Prankster Pokemon that just do weird things. Like you can Baton Pass a Tail Glow. You can also do like a crazy amount of disruptive stuff with Prankster. Now, status doesn't really seem to be that good anymore. But maybe with Megas, it's actually worth just Thunder Waving the opponent's Mega Pokemon in a trade, or doing some kind of other disruption things, and then trying to reverse momentum with your Mega now that you have the advantage, and their raid boss is about to go down because it traded with a Prankster Illumise, or Volbeat, or something. So yeah, Hoenn's power level is kind of weird because you do have some of the most notable, strongest competitive Pokemon like Breloom in there, Blaziken, and then the honorable mentions will also mess you up. There's not really much else to go off of. And then we have number 1, Latios. For the same reasons as Latios, but it's 130 special attack and has Luster Purge, which got buffed to 95 power. So we have a stronger than Psychic, power creep move that can lower special defense. So Latios just 2-taps everything. And then it has everything Latios has. It can still recover, it can still Calm Mind, it just has 10 less defense, 20 less special defense. And here's where their roles can potentially flip. Because if Latios can tank better than Latios and still have the same damage output, because like 110 special attack versus 130 with a +1 from Calm Mind or something, but if that 20 extra special attack actually does matter, especially because Calm Mind is boosting, so you're getting more effective boosting on that higher stat, that means Latios is better. So I haven't like done enough of a deep dive, but I did want to put that consideration out there. And then depending on how people play, it's like, yeah, my Latios dies too much. And then you swap on over to Latios and then you win more with it because it's just the same thing with crazy super amounts of power. So either the stats don't really matter and they're both number 1 and people are just playing Latios because he looks cooler. Or maybe Latios is number 6 and Latios is number 1 and that's actually the strongest Hoenn Pokemon because it just tanks better. And then like Calm Mind, max defense. Oh, it actually just sweeps an entire team somehow. And you can't do anything about it, except for Sucker Punch. But then maybe Latios is worth terrestrializing. So as we get like into the more powerful Pokemon on the list, that's where we get a bit more consideration for terrestrialization because, oh, this is now your raid boss. You Terra Latios into something incredibly good, and you don't, like, you're getting more power than a Mega, and then you win the game because your +2 Calm Mind Latios one-shots everything and can't get KO'd by anything your opponent has. That's a sweep. So there we go, guys. Top 10 Hoenn Pokemon. Hope you all enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.